Next debate, ladies and gentlemen, be it resolved that capital punishment has no place in a civilized society. Vitor is representing our government as Prime Minister. Adrian is representing the opposition as the leader of the opposition. Please join me in welcoming Vitor to start the debate.
Thank you. Think of civilized societies today, and we know that civilization is an evolution, that civilization wasn't always what it was today, and what we think of as civilization today and what we think of as civilized is a lot more modern. It is a current state of affairs. Civilizations of the past are sometimes considered savage by today's standards. So when I say civilized, I do mean current in a sense. And if you think of current civilizations, and particularly those societies that are well regarded and high esteem, you will notice that they do not, on average, practice capital punishment. Think of European nations. So why wouldn't they practice capital punishment? Well, in being current, we are learning to be better people. We are learning to be better societies. So we have learned that we need elegance in our affairs, that we need to be compassionate. And in that compassion, we've decided to take away the action of taking a life, because it is rather, going back to older societies, is rather a savage thing to do, and it is something that is not helpful. We've done it before because we were terser people, but now we have ways to help people, and we have ways to promote the good things about the society that we've built up, such as science, and for instance, psychological science, other ways to help people that are not just eliminating the threats from society. There has to be a way to deal with threats in society through the course of law and punishments for those threats, but execution, some sort of capital punishment, we have decided now that it's not the best way, in favor of more elegant, more modern, and civilized ways. Also think of the effect this has on our society in the example it provides. We want to be good and compassionate people. We want to be better people. And to say that our government will be able to execute criminals doesn't say that. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, or ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as the case may be, this is a very difficult case for the opposition. I would ask that the House put their feelings of motherhood and apple pie aside just for 3 minutes or so, and listen to the argument. The Prime Minister has gotten up and said that capital punishment does not belong in a civilized society, and he mentions a lot of European countries and says that the majority of countries don't do this, therefore it must be good. However, ladies and gentlemen of the House, just because the majority of any group does something does not necessarily make it right, does not necessarily make it civilized, does not necessarily make it correct. That is a false argument, to say the least. For many times in history, the tyranny of the majority, the tyranny of people who, because they have the ability to do something, doesn't make it right. And in this particular circumstance, just because the majority of countries don't practice capital punishment doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it a barometer of civilization. In a civilized society, I think one of the hallmarks of a civilized society is that punishment is meted out appropriate to the crime. That is a part of a civilized society. Societies in the past may have been able to let things go, or let crimes be committed and not punish them at all, or punishment was based on how much money you had to bribe a judge, or if you could flee the jurisdiction, or who you knew, or what your sexual orientation was, or what color your skin was. But in civilized society, the rule of law is what counts. And if society, through a democratic system, through the parliaments or through legislatures, decides that capital punishment is an effective or appropriate judgment for the crime of, say, for example, murder, or for the crime of rape, or for the crime of treason, for example, we think that is just as part of a civilized society as if another country decided that that's not the case. It is still part of a civilized society. It still has a place. For the opposition believes that there are some cases where the only right thing to do, the only decent thing to do, the only correct thing to do, and the only civilized thing to do, with some of the criminals that exist out there, some of the mass murderers who have assaulted and killed and maimed tens, if not more people, is that they humanely and civilizedly, in the sense that they're not experiencing a lot of pain, be put to death. We beg the House to oppose the motion.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I remind you that the opposition mentioned apple pie and capital punishment in the same sentence. The opposition is taking this very seriously. And it is serious. We're talking about life and death in the most literal sense. I want to, I suppose, clarify my statement about countries that don't practice capital punishment and how they are in high regard. That's really what I'm focusing on. That we as a people, you know, as a world that has very open communication and where the people are very empowered with knowledge right now, that they hold in high regard countries that do not practice this. This is not a coincidence. Also, good science recommends treatment. Treatment is more recommended now than ever because we are getting better at it. And if we can treat where we could not before, why wouldn't we do this instead of simply using capital punishment? Ladies and gentlemen, I compel you support the argument, support the motion. Thank you.
Great handling of a tough topic, gentlemen. Okay, who is in favor of the opposition? Capital punishment has no place.
You're putting the government again.
What did I say?
The opposition.
Sorry. Okay, who votes in favor of the government? Capital punishment. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And who votes against? 2, 4, 5. We had abstainers. Good job. Okay. Thank you very much. 9 to 5. Thank you very much.